let me know. And, oh, I see. I do get a message now. It's now saying.
Okay, looks like it is loading and going through. Okay, yeah.
Okay, great. Maybe we should test it. Chung, could you do that for me? And then Paul Gerard, I see we are. We think we are streaming live. You're joining as alternate, correct? We're expecting Matt.
Correct. My understanding is that Matt will be joining us.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Shauna.
Hi, how you doing? Good to see you guys.
Good.
Good to see you too.
Hi, Gavin.
Hey, everyone.
And just to confirm, you are going to be attending as an alternate today, correct, for Chris?
Chris, unless he shows up, I'll be his representative.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Tony.
Hello.
We are waiting a lot more people. We only have two. Oh, I think I see number 3 coming in so far. Still a way to go to quorum.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And hi, Dave.
Hello, hello.
We are still very shy from a quorum, so we're still waiting for a few members. Hi, Matt Crawford. Are you sitting in for Mr. Rudnick today?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
And who invited Matt Sable? Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon, David Sanders.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You look a little different today. I don't know something. I don't know exactly what it is. A little different.
Good afternoon, Dave.
Gavon. Hello, everyone. Shauna.
Mr. Sanders, how are you?
Good. And I see my second favorite person there, Tony Royster. Good afternoon, Tony.
I see my first favorite person, David Sanders.
will wait and go on mute until we have a quorum, Paul, and you'll let us know.
Yes, I will. We're actually pretty close. Actually, I think I just saw a quorum come in. So we did get a bunch of members all at the same time. So let me just go through roll call real quick. We might be there. So far, I see Dave Sanders, Marlene, and actually, Marlene, can you just announce yourself? Make sure I did see you.
Yes, I'm here, Paul. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you. So we have Dave Sanders, we have Marlene, we have Gavin Kuhn. On the labor side, on the management side, I saw
Paul. I'm here too, Paul Beachley.
Thank you, Paul. So we have Paul Beachley and Marlene and Gavin and Dave.
And Gary from AFSCME's here too.
Thank you, Gary. So we have all 5 members on the labor side. On the management side, we have Wendy, I saw. We have Todd sitting in for Neil, I believe.
Correct.
Todd, can you just confirm real quick? Perfect, thank you.
Correct.
We have Tony, we have Matt Crawford sitting in for Matthew Rudnick, and we have Matt Dabo. So we have 5 and 5, a full quorum.
All right. Recognizing we have a quorum, we can call the meeting to order. And our first order of business is public comments. Paul, I will turn that over to you.
Okay, everybody was muted when you first came in. If you're participating by phone and you'd like to make a public comment, please unmute your phone by pressing *6 and announcing yourself at this time. Hearing none.
Okay, hearing no public comments, and we will move to the next agenda item, which was committee report number 2115. The Live Well, LA Well program, service providers renewal for 2022, plan adoption.
Hey, thank you. I will lead that discussion and just wanted to share, we're going to try to move through the content as expeditiously as possible. I think we have at least one member of the committee who needs to leave a bit early at 2:45. So we will move as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Today we're bringing forward our recommendation for adoption of our program, our LA Well 2022 program. That includes renewals for all of our benefit service providers. As we discussed with you at your last meeting, we are considerably behind schedule, and so we're hoping for your approval today so that we can proceed to immediately take the program through to City Council and also launch all of the programming that is required for open enrollment. We are bringing forward what, on the whole, we believe to be a very favorable renewal package for the city. This includes a Kaiser increase of 3%, an Anthem HMO decrease of close to 9% for all of the HMO plans, and then also a PPO decrease of 5.6%. So aside from one small rate increase for the provider for our EFAP program, there are no increases in the other rates. So the plan here is to briefly walk you through at a high level the recommendations on the renewals, and I'll also invite your consultants at Keenan to review the details of the health renewals in particular as we go through each of those. With respect to the health plans, I did want to note at the outset that we did need to make a correction to the report after it was released as part of our ongoing objective for being very transparent. The consultant's report contains certain underwriting details that did go beyond what we typically present. Both of our carriers expressed some concerns about that information, and after considering what they had indicated, we did find those concerns reasonable. So those details have been removed from the report of record, which is what you have before you. But the details in the final report in terms of sort of what underlines the proposed renewals are consistent with what we have provided you in previous renewal cycles. So we don't see this impacting any of your consideration today. So we'll start with the Kaiser renewal. As noted in the report, that renewal is 3.02%. On an absolute basis, this is a favorable renewal, and also below our 10-year average of renewals with Kaiser. I'm sure you saw our consultants did identify some areas of concern on certain aspects of the renewal that we believe merit further dialogue with Kaiser, and for which, as part of our recommendation, we would like to engage in further dialogue with them with the support of the JLMBC, and then bring the results of those conversations back to you. The areas of concern relate to the approach taken with COVID-related claims and expenses, and also the approach taken with differentials between projected versus actual claim expenses in 2020. It's also our understanding that Kaiser's approach may be consistent with its approach with other large plan sponsors within the region, and we're also looking to have an opportunity to have some further dialogue with them to help inform our consideration.
How does this rate? Quick question, Stephen. How does this rate compare to what was given in LA County, for example, of 1.9? I think. What's the rate increase? Is that just a different health plan there in the county versus the city?
So I'm not. Yeah, I'm not aware of what their renewal information is. So I wouldn't be able to discuss LA County.
And Dave, LA County actually has not come in. I see it on the plan stuff on that. They have not come back with the final figure on that. So we're waiting for that. So it could be as high as 2.25. We're still waiting for the final number. But my only comment I want to mention is everybody else is dropping the figures except Kaiser. I just want to point that out.
And I don't know, and I didn't know within your discussions or Keenan's discussion if that was talked about in your discussions as to why the rate difference, whether it be 1.9 or even 2% versus 3.9 or that we're being asked to increase here. But
right, I did want to defer to Keenan to chime in here as part of the Kaiser discussion. But I will note that our renewals are based on our plan experience. So every plan sponsor is different, the demographics are different, the experience is different. But nevertheless, I think what we are focused on is sort of the concepts, some of the concepts, and the way that the underwriting is approached that may be common. That's something I think that we want to explore further.
No, and I would agree with that, Stephen. I just, in your report, it said they attributed to COVID-related claims, and I'm assuming the county had claims as the other jurisdiction, and how we ended up with 3.9 versus 2. That I just to accept it as a broad answer, we had different claim experiences. I don't know until what that means, and I don't know if your discussions with Keenan and with Kaiser kind of delved into it a little deeper than that. So.
Yeah, we didn't. I mean, we have not done anything along the lines of comparing our renewal to another plan's renewal. What we're coming forward to you with right now is more conceptual. But if Keenan, if anyone on the Keenan team would like to chime in on that point.
Yeah. Hello, this is Borden Darm with Keenan, and relative to the Kaiser renewal, there were a couple of points that we really wanted to emphasize. One, we strongly disagreed with the trend being utilized to no avail. Kaiser said that their trend was required. And the trend was 8.02%. That's the annual trend to basically project claims forward. In the previous year, it was substantially lower. It was 3.93. So it's almost a little over a 4% increase in trend alone. We argued the point that, hey, if you just reduce that trend, in other words, what you're projecting for the next year, by 1.76%, that 3% increase would go to a flat rate pass. And so that was one of the main things. Kaiser's of the opinion that they needed the increased trend to support a variety of programs, including COVID-related expenses.
Dave, it's Gavin. I have a question. Isn't the utilization rates last year and a half, dropped at Kaiser? I'm not counting the COVID stuff, but
Yeah,
general utilization has dropped.
so Kaiser is a budget-based model. It's not necessarily based on utilization because it costs them so much money to run their hospitals. And when they go to renewal, they look at the cost that it's for running their hospitals going forward in the next year. Because their doctors are staff doctors, even if the utilization is down, those doctors still have to be paid the same. It's not like a PPO where Anthem's only going to pay the claims that are submitted. So what we typically saw with the Anthems and the Blue Shields, where utilization was down and it's favorable for us this year, I honestly have to tell you that this is a fairly low renewal compared to what my other clients have received on the Kaiser side. And considering, all the things that had to be done by providers for COVID, such as setting up new labs and requirements, things that were required, they're just in a different situation because they have consistent staff to pay versus just a claims payment on utilization. So I think that puts them in just a little bit different different situation than we would see with the other providers.
Well, I appreciate the explanation. Thanks.
I wanted to jump in, Dave. The CalPERS renewal for Kaiser for Southern California, for Los Angeles County, was 7.4%.
Yes.
And that was just adopted yesterday.
Yes. And the Kaiser renewals have been, like I said, this is the most favorable renewal that Keenan has seen for their clients this year. And so even though we would love to see, we'd love to see a lower renewal, and again, like Stephen said, we can't really compare your utilization with, someone else's. I think it's a fairly fair renewal.
And that's fine. I just saw in your notes that you were concerned about the renewal and the underwriting processes. So that was just.
Well, that's something we're going to explore further, David. We are going to be meeting with Kaiser and exploring some of those questions further. I did speak to one of the executives at Kaiser yesterday, and we're going to have a meeting between the city and Kaiser. So this is not something that we are not pursuing. We are, but for the renewal purposes and for the 3.02%, I think it's a pretty reasonable renewal. There's other things that we will continue to pursue, though.
Thank you, Stephen. I have no other question. I'll give it back to you unless other committee members have questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks all. So if no other discussion or questions on Kaiser, then we'll move to Anthem. This renewal is a very favorable one for the city. The renewal includes decreases in all of the HMO plans by 8.7% and the PPO plan 5.6%. That's well below recent renewals and our longer term averages for these plans, which have generally been in the range of 6 to 7% increases when we look at sort of the longer term and sometimes much larger, particularly with the PPO plan. Now there is one pending issue for Anthem that we did flag that requires some further review, but which does not need to be resolved at today's meeting. Anthem has offered a $0 office visit copay for Vivity members. They've indicated that this is they've come forward with this in support of this Vivity model of trying to provide more integrated care and with the goal of trying to improve engagement between members and their primary care doctors. They've also confirmed with us that the pricing of their renewal is not impacted by whether or not the city would want to implement this change. The reason we'd like a little bit more time to consider this, though, is just due to the potential impact of any change in copays in terms of how that potentially impacts the other plans. You know, sort of also the questions we have about just in terms of being consistent with all of our plans. So we'd like to review that further and report back at your next meeting. But again, this doesn't need to be resolved in order to move forward with the adoption of the renewal. And I don't know if Keenan, if you'd like to note anything further regarding the anthem renewal.
I think that this is, again, you know, as pointed out, utilization there was a decrease in utilization for the non-staff model. Obviously, a lot of things were put on hold. And I think that we're seeing that also reflected in the renewals that we are receiving from the non-staff model plans. And so we are very pleased with this renewal from Anthem and agree with it.
So I just had a comment, Dave, if it's okay. I always have a comment. You know
Yes,
that.
Gavin, go ahead.
You know, I love to talk. My only question on the validity is that if there's any, rather than look at city, my urging is to consider rather than look at, you know, one size fits all with city policy on the lack of the idea of no copay on the validity. Anything that benefits a participant, I think we should use that as rule number one, is be my advice. So, because I think the participant user should be given the first goal, not the city's consideration. So I just want to put that out there. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding the Anthem renewal? Okay. So as I mentioned, for all of the other remaining providers, we have no proposed premium or rate increases, with one exception. Our EFAP provider is coming forward with an increase of 2 cents per member per month, which actually we will correct in our report and what goes forward to council. We had indicated $1.21 per month. It'll actually be $1.20 per employee per month. This was actually part of their response to the RFP, which originally, you know, this was a number of years ago, but they responded with a rate guarantee for 3 years, and then part of that proposal included rate increases in years 4 and 5. But other than that, as noted, all of the other plan costs will stay the same. And then in terms of plan design, we only have one recommended adjustment this year. This is something we bring to you every year, which is the increase in the basic disability maximum benefit amount. That occurs each year based on the weighted average of cost of living increases. So we have that amount included in our recommendations, the new amount for 2022. And the report includes the consultants' renewals, all of their review of the renewals, and we have our tentative cost projections for next year, which of course will be impacted by what happens with enrollment primarily over the course of the year. And then we also have included in our report the demographic review attachment, which we provide to you each year. That is all of the material. We can certainly walk through in more detail any of what's been presented. You can let me know if there's anything that you'd like to discuss further, or any of the documents you'd like to review in more detail.
So I do have just one more question. Going back to Kaiser, if I could ask of Keenan, you had indicated that you disagree strongly with the
trend.
With the trend, right? You disagree strongly with the trend, and that if the trend was just slightly lower, we would have it would yield no increase for the year. But you do recommend you do recommend the increase. So can you
Uh-huh.
talk a little bit more about that?
Sure.
If you strongly
Absolutely.
disagree on one end and that would lead to 0, then how are you recommending a 3?
Okay, so I think does everybody know what trend is? Trend is the cost of doing business. So it would be like kind of like a COLA for healthcare costs. And so each year, what is set by the carriers or the hospitals or whatever is this year, the trend is this number. Okay. So, our belief was that trend for Kaiser was higher than we believe it should have been partially due to COVID expenses and some other factors. And maybe, not necessarily wanting to have that applied to the trend. And so if not, that would have brought the trend down, which would have ended up in a rate pass. Now, in our position as a broker, it's always our job to pick apart the renewal, to look at all the factors, and to get you the best possible renewal that we can. We did that. Kaiser said, no, we're holding firm with this trend. This is the trend that we believe we need to do business for the following year. And so whether we agree or don't agree, that is where we ended up.
Can I ask this question? And excuse me for my potential ignorance. It's my first meeting, but are they allowed in that trend rate to recoup past losses?
That question I would have to have Christine or Borden answer, because that is something I'm not an expert in. So I don't know if one of you want to speak to that.
I can go ahead. This is Borden. Past losses would have been reflected in the past claim experience that they show, and which is the starting point for developing the renewal. So it would be amplified in trend, but it wouldn't be a causation of a higher trend. The claim experience over the period that we're looking at, Kaiser used 2020 claim experience to project for 2022 rates. So whether 2020 was a good year or a bad year, it's reflected at the start at the claim experience over the experience period and not in trend. So trend would not have been a factor of we need to increase trend because of losses. That would have been self-evident in the claims they used.
Okay, but so it's
Trend is the cost of doing business for the following year, what they believe. So it's sort of like, like we said, like a COLA on healthcare, and what they believe that increase needs to be going forward to cover costs for the following plan year.
But they, as part of that argument, they included extraordinary COVID costs, or maybe not extraordinary. I added that word, but they.
No. COVID costs are not. Costs are certainly not over. It's dwindled significantly, but there is still a lot required by these hospitals. As far as I know, my husband just got out of the hospital today, was in for a week. And everything's still masked up and, PPEs. And the hospitals are way behind us as far as being a little bit, less cautious on the COVID side. So I don't know if, they're anticipating some of that. I can't, I guess for Kaiser, I can't speak to how much they factored that in.
And, just if I could chime in, I mean, I think, normally, Matt, just so you know, I mean, each year we would typically bring forward a recommendation on a renewal, and but we would not be discussing the renewal after that. Like it would be adopted and we would move forward, and then we're not really coming back to pricing and premiums until the following year. I think what we're really trying to get to here is, we believe that the renewal should go forward now, but we would like to continue the dialogue with them. So we don't want to sort of push this off for another year, and we think that there may be some things that we can explore on our side. There's still an opportunity for us to have discussions that could impact the medium term or the long term, and then bring that back to the JLMBC.
That raises a couple questions off Matt's question for me.
Before you go there,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Gavin. I'm
Okay.
not sure what the answer was. Was that a yes to Matt's question? They are allowed to recoup. I'm not sure what your answer was, Lori.
Oh,
or our board. Is that a yes or no?
they start out, the renewal
No,
baseline
I got all
starts.
that. I just want to.
Oh, okay.
They can recoup
Okay.
that loss. Yes. Somebody.
Oh, not in the trend. No, they do not recoup. The trend is not part of the recouping of costs.
Okay. Matt, I don't know if that was all your question. Before you go there, I don't know if Matt was complete with his
Okay.
Hey, my question on the trending, because Matt opened the door, was, is that same number different for every, is one number for the whole year for trending with other cities and counties and employers, or is it specific to the city? Because if that's the case, then that means there's factors involved that we should probably be talking about.
Yeah. Gordon, do you want to respond to that? I think the question really is does Kaiser set a trend for everyone, or is the trend vary according to the specific client?
My experience is that trend varies from client to client. I will tell you that the highest trend for a group, and it's a group of 10,000, and that is over 11% that they're using this year. And a lot of it has to do with what their budget model for a particular region is. It's a trend, like Lori has explained. It's basically, it's their budgetary needs, which take into consider both utilization and inflation as well too. So it's certainly something that we, I don't think there's a year where I don't argue trend, not just with Kaiser, but with other carriers as well too. It's just Kaiser's being steadfast this year in their trend assumption.
Thank you.
This is Gary from AFSCME. I thought I was clear on this, and then when people started asking questions, I got a little confused. But mostly it's Kaiser is not a for-profit business, and the increase is due to them staying with a healthy bottom line and for projections of anything that could come out of nowhere, and then they still have a healthy reserve. Is that what I'm hearing?
That certainly could be a interpretation. Every carrier, whether profit or nonprofit, does have to have certain reserve levels. It doesn't make you a for-profit needing to have reserve levels, but based off their budgetary requirements, they needed to increase the trend number to the level it is at to assure that they meet their requirements for the next year.
So Dave, you need a motion to forward this committee?
No, I don't think he's done with the reporting. He's still
okay.
He's still
all right. I thought we were there.
Report.
Sorry. I
Not
thought we
yet.
covered the topic. Sorry.
No. Are there any other questions for members? If not, I'll give it back to Stephen. Hear none. Is there anything else, Stephen?
Just we have the set of recommendations that we'd like you to adopt. We will proceed immediately to finalize the report to City Council, bring that forward at the earliest possible date. Then we have two priorities left. One is conducting open enrollment. The other is continuing our support of the payroll conversion effort. Since our benefit programs are an extremely complicated part of employee paychecks that will need to be successfully addressed as part of that conversion. But I have nothing else to add.
Just a quick question. So the recommendation does not include a Anthem no copay for bed visit. That's going to be somewhere discussed in the future. Is that what we're saying?
Right. Yeah. We actually will come back at your August meeting with some feedback on that.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members? If not, Gavin, you can make your motion.
I appreciate it. I will make the motion for the group to adopt the committee report 21-15 for the LA program 2022, service provider renewals and plan adoption.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion from Gavin, a second by, who was the second from? Paul, I know Paul Beachley. I guess we'll take a roll vote now, all in favor of. Is that you, Paul?
I'll take the roll vote, but just a clarification on the motion. There are 5 components within the report itself. A, B, C, D, and E. Is the motion for all 5?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Then in that case, we'll do our roll call vote starting at the top, and we'll start with you, Dave. Dave, your vote?
Yes, aye.
Dave votes aye. Paul Beachley, your vote?
Aye.
Paul votes aye. Marlene, your vote?
Aye.
Marlene votes aye. Gary, your vote?
Aye.
Gary votes aye. Gavin, your vote?
Yes, for standing in for Chris Hannon, yes.
Gavin votes aye. Then we'll move on to management. Wendy, your vote?
Aye.
Wendy votes aye. Todd, your vote? Todd, are you there? We'll come back around to Todd. Oh, sorry. Todd?
Yes.
Did I hear you?
Yes.
Okay, I have an aye from Todd. Tony, your vote?
Aye.
Tony votes aye. Matthew Crawford, your vote?
Aye.
Matthew votes aye. And Matt Zabo, your vote?
Aye.
Matt votes aye. So that's 5 labor, 5 management. It's unanimous. It passes.
Good. Motion's been passed. Just a quick question. Just all 5 providers, or 7 provider renewals, all go to January 2022. December 31st, 2022. It's all the same deadline date for all the providers.
Are you talking about the?
I'm talking about wage. I'm talking about wage work, IMED, the standard,
right,
and opt-in.
Yeah,
December.
all of these renewals are for the full calendar year.
Okay, it wasn't noted on the, it just specifically said about Kaiser and Anthem. But okay, understood. All right. Thank you, Stephen. We're going to the next items. Item number 4, future agenda items. Any to be requested or noted from anyone in the member, any committee member? Hearing none. If there's nothing else, our next meeting date is scheduled for August 5th. And if nothing else, we are adjourned. Good meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.